Let's talk about how to use external tools with the game creator. This is the ideal workflow, allowing you to use your favorite text editor or photo editor in order to make the game you want. Think of the game creator more as an emulator which runs the Pixel Vision 8 engine. While there are tools built into the game creator, each of these tools are really there for debugging and helping you see what's going on under the hood. In an ideal situation, you would use your own external editors to help make your game. To illustrate how this works, let's go ahead and create a new game. As we do this, it'll automatically be loaded, so we can hit escape, and when we do, we're presented with the Save tool. This shows us all the files in our sandbox folder as we work on our game. Let's take a look at the sandbox folder and the other folders that help make up our workspace. When we go to the File tool, you'll see there's a workspace path, which shows us the path on our computer where our files are stored. We can copy this path to the clipboard, and when we switch back over to the Finder, simply navigate to the folder that you copied to the clipboard. Here you'll see there's a BIOS file, which represents the settings for the game creator itself when it boots up, as well as a workspace folder. Inside of the workspace folder are all the folders that make up the workspace itself. There's a games folder, which stores the archived versions of our games. There's a libs folder, which allows us to share common libraries across our games. There's a trash folder, which shows us all the files that have been moved to the trash. When the game creator is running, there's a temp folder, which shows us the log.txt file or any other temporary files that the game creator needs in order to work. And finally, there's a sandbox folder. The sandbox folder represents the files that make up our game itself. If we go back to the Save tool, you'll see the same files are presented inside of the game creator. What's special about this is that we're now able to edit any of our game's files with an external editor. Let's take a look at our code.lua file. Since I'm using Atom, it's automatically going to open up the code file that I clicked on, and it's going to show us our project folder, which is the sandbox itself. And in a future video, I'll show you how to configure Atom in order to make it an ideal editor for working with your game's code. So now let's go ahead and change the background color of our game. We'll set this to 0, save our changes, and go back to the game creator. Now if we run our game, you'll see that the background color has changed. We can also make changes while the game is running. Let's go back to our code and undo the change that we made. Inside the game creator, if we hit Control-4, it'll reload the game and execute the new code. Now you can see that the background has changed back to black. We can also take a look at the other files that make up our game. We can also edit the data file, which represents the limitations of our system. We can also edit the info file, which represents the metadata that Pixel Vision 8 uses when loading a game. And we can even take a look at the raw sound data. Here you'll see the name and the settings that make up each of the sounds that have been saved to the project. We can also go ahead and generate out sprite art. If we go into the Sprite tool and click the Compress button, it'll automatically take the font that is being loaded up and create a Sprite cache file to help speed up the loading of our game. Once we've created this file, we can double click on it, and you'll see inside of Photoshop, our font has been saved out. We can make changes to the Sprite cache file and continue to optimize it by saving out non-duplicate sprites from the game creator itself. If you want to work with your own sprites, simply create a sprites.png file and the game creator will load it up for you. The last thing we can do is work with an external tilemap editor. If we go to the tilemap tool and click Compress, it'll create a tilemap.json file. This is a specially formatted file that's meant to work with the Tiled IDE. If we switch over to Tiled and open up our sandbox folder, we can select the tilemap.json file, and you'll see that our sprites have automatically been linked to the project file. Let's go ahead and draw some sprites into the sprite layer And we can also create collision flags for use in our own game. If we save our changes and go back into the game creator and reload the tool, you'll now see that the tiles have been saved and our flags have been saved as well. This is just a quick preview of how to actually use external editors when building games for Pixelvision 8.